Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this month's live stream. For those that don't know me, my name's John Tracy and I've got some pretty cool stuff to share with you this evening. And I apologise now for any Apple fans out there for scheduling this at the same time as an Apple event. So I was fully expectant that I would turn up and there'd be nobody here. But I can see Chris and Donald. Donald's in from Central Florida where it's raining. Yeah, pretty much the same here in the UK. It started raining about half an hour ago and looks like it might be set in for the next hour. Actually, looking at some of the clouds outside, we might be in for a bit of a thunderstorm this evening. So if you see flashes, you'll know exactly what all that is. So we're going to follow exactly the same format I follow every single month. I'm going to kick off with some of the questions that have been asked in advance. If you guys have questions, pop them all in the chat and then we'll go through them all. I've got some data to share with you and I've also got some really good news. We've actually used some of the money that the channel's generated this year to do some good this month. So I want to share that information with you in a little while. So with that, I'm going to dive across here and let's take a look. So I've had this question so much since I put up the videos about the new EcoFlow stream system that I've been playing around with. And it's a question that actually isn't answered in any of the documentation. And I think it's because this system is built for deployment across all over the world. You can get it in lots of different countries. But obviously this is specific to the UK. So if you're getting a micro inverter, now whether that's a standalone microinverter or something like the Stream or the Stream Ultra where you've got the battery and the inverter all in one box, you still need to go through G98 or G99 approval. So if this is your only system, so you're putting one in, and again, up to 800 watts, there's a lot of people on Reddit who are telling people, oh no, you don't need to worry about it, it's a different classification. That is not true. You still need to contact your DNO. If it's your only system, you can do a G98 because it's under 3.6 kilowatts, and you can do that retrospectively as a G98. If, like me, you've already got a bigger system on your roof and you're adding this to it, and your current system is either 3.6 kilowatts or greater, you'll then have to do a G99, what they call an addendum. It is really simple to do. Call up your DNO, ask them to send you the paperwork. In my case with Eastern Power Networks, it was a 2-page document. I just had to fill in, put in the name of the equipment, what it was I was doing, sent it off to them. I got an approval within 24 hours. So really, really simple. Don't believe everything you read on Reddit. So yes, you need a G98. Yes, you need approval. Now, the other question that comes up a lot is, can you just put a plug on the end of the cable? Now, all of these microinverters in the UK come with a cable with basically bare ends. Sometimes they have crimped ends on them, but just bare wires. And the reason for that is to be compliant with UK electrical regulations, they need to be wired into, in theory, a separate fused spur from your consumer unit. So both of mine are on that. I ran my old system, my Power Stream inverter, for 2 years with a UK plug on the end of it, and it worked just fine. And the only reason I upgraded it and put it on a fuse spur was I had an electrician on site, so I got them to do the work while they were here. Now the worry with, and this goes back to sort of older times. The worry with being a plug is, if you pull the plug out and the system is generating power and you were to touch the pins, would you get an electric shock? And the answer is no, you won't. And in fact, I've done this as a kind of confidence test. First of all, checked it with a multimeter, pulled it out and stuck my fingers on the pins, nothing. It cuts off. As soon as it doesn't see the phase synchronization or the 50 hertz signal coming from the grid, then instantly the inverter cuts off, which it has to do by law to be able to be sold in the UK. So yes, you can put a plug on the end of it. Should you put a plug on the end of it? That's a question you'd have to answer for yourself. But if you look at the Reddit groups, you look at the Facebook groups, I would say 95% of people who are running these microinverters have just got a plug on the end of the cable. So, yeah, you've got to do the certification. Yep, you've got to do either G98, G99. Now the problem comes then is if you want to get an export, if you've already got an MCS approved system and you've got an export tariff, then you're fine. You're not actually going to be exporting that much power for it. But if this is your only system, if you were putting this in maybe in an apartment, you're putting the panels on the balcony, you won't be able to get an MCS certificate because you're not an MCS accredited installer. So if you then go to Eon or to Octopus or anything and say, hey, I want to get an export tariff, the first thing they're going to ask for is, where's the MCS certificate for your system? And you won't have one. Now, Octopus started a scheme that said, we will happily take non-MCS accredited systems if you pay us £250. Now, if you've got a larger system, that might be worth it in the long run. But that means you're going to have to basically export enough energy to cover that first £250. And if you've only got a micro inverter, maybe that's an 800 watt inverter, maybe you're only exporting like 100 watts at a time, it's going to take an awful long time to pay back that £250 before you start making any money. So I think for micro generation, export is pointless until they can get away with this monopoly that MCS has on everything. It doesn't seem to be worth it. Okay, next question. I'm going to do this one really quickly because I'm not a camera geek guy, but I get a lot of people ask about what cameras do I use, or what microphones, all these kind of things. So really quickly, and put both my hands up, I work for a company called Logitech. So for those of you that know Logitech, they make webcams and other bits and pieces. So I have access to quite a lot of that stuff. This camera that I'm on right now, this is actually one of these. This is called a Mevo Core. Not the lens. The lens is an Olympus lens. This brick here is a full streaming studio in one camera. So I have one of those up at the front there. You can stream directly to YouTube from this if you want to. I have this with a prime lens on it. This is my sort of main camera that I use. But when I'm filming videos, I'm out and around the garden, places like that, I use DJI. And again, none of this is sponsored. I pay for all this myself. This is the new DJI 360 camera. So for any of you that have noticed the weird sort of camera pans that I've done in the last couple of videos, that's how I do it. It films 360 degrees. Then in post, you can literally move the video around the sphere and say, look at me, look at the other side of it. So that's pretty much what I do. It's DJI and Mevo cameras mostly. For mics, I use a Shure. This is an MV7. And then all of my editing's in Final Cut. And everybody I know has been like, why don't you use DaVinci Resolve or CapCut? I'm an old dude. I've been using Final Cut for 20 years. The finger muscles are programmed to all the shortcuts on the keyboard. So yeah, I use Final Cut for all my editing. And for streaming, specifically for this stream, I use a piece of software called Ecamm Live. So again, I can bring multiple sources together, multiple cameras, microphones, and then this will send it all out nicely packaged to YouTube. So that's what I use. Nothing particularly cool about it, but a lot of people do ask, so I thought I would answer it. Okay. The third one, and then we'll get on to something else, is this comes up quite a lot because a lot of vendors are starting to add AI features into their software, whether it's the app on your phone or the software that you use or some third-party piece of software that you maybe use to manage your batteries. Thoughts on AI with solar setups? So I'm a bit old school and I'm a bit of a control freak, so I actually like to manage my own things myself. And I keep asking whenever I see these AI features does it have a real benefit? Can it do something for me that I can't do myself? And one of the things it's really good at, and I've seen this with systems, there's systems like Predbat, not strictly AI, but if your goal is to maximize the amount of money that you can make from your system and you don't want to have to sit and babysit it, then some of these AI features will figure out your usage patterns, what's the best time to export energy, and they'll control your system for you. So if your goal is to maximize profits, then yes, they're probably a good idea. New features, do they add really much to the system? Maybe, but what I'm starting to see is that vendors are now starting to lock features behind paywalls. And a good example of this is EcoFlow. So with the new EcoFlow system that I installed the other day, the app has been updated regularly, and they've started pushing new, what they call AI premium mode. And quite frankly, I don't think any of this is worth paying for. A solar forecast. You can get a free solar forecast online. Why would you pay somebody to class it as an AI feature when it's something you can just get for free? And if you're using something like Home Assistant, you can then bring that solar forecast into Home Assistant and have it control your batteries, predict how much energy you're going to use, all of that kind of stuff. So again, why you'd pay for that, I don't know. But the bits that I find really disturbing is this concept, and you can see there on the left-hand side of the two pictures, solar surplus control. So this is brand new. This is something that came out in the app update yesterday. And on the right-hand side there, you can see what it does. So if you have other EcoFlow batteries, they want to charge you for one system to be able to send your excess to your other system. So you've already bought both systems, you've paid full price for them. Now they want you to pay extra to have features that don't require the cloud, don't require any AI to do that. It's a simple thing that if the meter says you're exporting power, then send power to that device instead. Again, they're starting to lock these features behind paywalls. And insights into your AI energy insights, they call it. Basically giving you information about how your system's performing, the system you've paid them good money for. And again, managing things like dynamic rates. None of this requires AI. And I think what it is investors in these companies are trying to shoehorn AI into anything they can because they think it will make them sound bigger and better than they really are. When really all of these are just locally run features that don't require the cloud, and they're putting them behind a paywall to get more money out of you. So yeah, don't like the way this is going, and love to know what you guys think about it. Okay, so as I say, if anyone has questions, pop them in the chat. I'll come back to those in a minute, but I want to give you an update on where we are with my net zero challenge for 2025. Now, if you're new here, I set myself a challenge at the beginning of 2025 was to have a £0 energy bill for 2025. And the plan was that whatever my account was at the beginning of the year, however much extra money was in that account at the end of the year, that we were going to donate all the surplus to good causes, and I would walk away with a £0 energy bill. So that's my challenge. Then my wife suggested we do something a little bit more. She said, well, what if we take all of the money that we make from YouTube, which isn't massive, but it's a chunk of money, and we also donate that to good causes. So this is how you guys get involved. So the way we do this is we will generate as much energy as we can. I'm managing the system in such a way that I'm trying to make sure that what we generate from our roofs and from our fences, so there's 9.6 kilowatts on the roof, there's nearly 30 kilowatts of batteries in the garage. There's another 2.5 kilowatts on my fences and another 11 kilowatts of batteries. So we have the ability to take in a lot of energy, store it, and then push it back to the grid when it's advantageous and we can make the most money from it. So that's what we do. And just to show you the difference between 2 years. Now, the only difference in generation that we've made between last year and this year is we've added about another 1.5 kilowatts to the fence panel system, which has an effect, but it's pretty small. But last year we generated 5.4 megawatts. It's just the beginning of September and we're already at 7.23 megawatts. So we've had a pretty good summer. We've had an amazing summer, but we've also been making sure that we're exporting as much as we possibly can to build up that credit. So on December the 31st, as I say, all that surplus will go to good causes, and you guys have been doing an amazing job. So just by showing up to this live stream, watching the videos that I put out. We made another £310 from YouTube last month. And we also got some money from Octopus. So we had a heat pump referral that brought in £100. We had somebody who moved over to Octopus and used my referral code. There's another £50. We had a couple of people buy me coffee, which again, we put all that money into the pot. A little bit of money from Amazon. So yeah, it was a pretty good month for contributions. And as I said before, I will pay all the taxes on this, obviously, because I have a job as well. I have to pay taxes on my income, and this is classed as income. So we'll cover that. So all of the money goes to good causes. So a few shout outs to Les and Egbert, who bought us coffees, and actually to Les, who bought one for my wife, because for those that weren't here for the last live stream, I actually did it on my wedding anniversary, and we were about to head out to dinner, but I wanted to make sure that we got the live stream done. So Les bought a cup of coffee for my wife as well. So I did buy her the cup of coffee, Les, but I did also take the money and put it into the pot as well. Shout outs to David Steele, Nervous Frog, Robin Rocks, Lawrence and Baz Curtis. There's probably many more of you, but I see you guys all in the comments all of the time, and just wanted to say thank you very much for being part of the conversation, and to everybody else that makes this a really enjoyable thing, certainly for me to do. If you do want to contribute, there are ways to do this. I won't labour on these, but all the different ways that you can use my referral codes. They'll all take you to my link tree, and all the information's on there. Okay, so this is the money that we've earned over the last, where are we now? We're into the 9th month. So we've made £5,405.99. And I said, I wanted to try and make sure that this money would be used to help people, rather than just write a big check to some established charity who it would just get sucked up in their administration fees, paying their employees, that kind of thing. I wanted to be able to make a real impact in somebody, specifically people who had large energy debts. And this month we were able to do a good thing. So one of the suggestions that came up last month on the stream was that maybe go and talk to the local Citizens Advice Bureau, because generally people who are in financial trouble, that's one of the places that they might go. So they might be able to put me in touch with somebody. Well, funnily enough, they were amazing. They actually put me in touch with somebody who I knew, or I wouldn't say I knew, I know of them. They live in a village not far from where I am. I know them through a couple of people who live in the local area. But this person, the best way I can describe it, and I'm not going to embarrass her, I'm not going to give out her name or anything like that, but the best way to describe her was somebody who's doing everything right. She's got 2 kids who are at school, she works 2 jobs, her husband works full time, and they were struggling to pay off an existing energy debt. So they had all of their other parts of their life, everything was fine, but they were being forced by their energy company to, or were trying to be forced by their energy company to put in a prepaid meter. And she was desperate that she didn't want to do this. She wanted to try and find a way to settle the debt with them. And she went and talked to the Citizens Advice Bureau. So they talked to her, they agreed, they put her in touch with me. And between us, with the money that we generated, we wrote off that entire debt for her. So this was the amount it came out to. So it was £1,445.75. And she no longer owes anybody anything. And it has been a weight lifted off her shoulders. So thank you to everybody who has been part of this. There are going to be more to come, because the Citizens Advice people have been amazing about this. And again, it's just a really simple thing. The money is sitting in the bank. You guys you've sat and listened to me for months on end. YouTube has given us money. We're going to do something really important. And seeing what this has done for this lady, we're going to do more of it. And I'm going to find more and more ways to do this. So thank you everybody for all the help. Okay. Let's get back to how much power did we use, how much power did we export, and what was our bill for last month. So it was a pretty flat month compared to the month before. So compared to July and August, we used ever so slightly more electricity, 1.5% more. So about 788 kilowatt hours, of which we paid Octopus £74.29 for it. And actually, I think it would have been a flat month, because if you look at that graph in the bottom right there, look at the last day of the month. That was one of those free electricity days that Octopus puts out, where they say electricity is going to be free between this hour and this hour. So yeah, I charged the car and charged the house batteries and everything. And obviously it was in the peak time, so it's showing up there. And then what they do is they refund that money a few days later, but it shows up in my August numbers. So I think we'd actually been slightly under our July numbers, which as we go into the latter part of the year was quite a surprise. From an export point of view, we actually exported 23% more than we did in July. So a total of 845 kilowatt hours went back to Octopus, of which they paid us £126.88. And we still have the gas. Well, actually, we don't, but that's Friday's video. So if you want to know more about this story, tune in on Friday. But as you can see there, yeah, there's just a month load of standing charge, but it's now gone. I don't have gas any longer, so we'll pay the final bill and we are done with that. But more information on that in the video coming Friday. So in August, yeah, we imported £74 and 29 pence. We paid £9.34 for gas, and we got a credit of £126.88. There was no free electricity credited that month. That will come next month. So we ended up with a negative bill of £43 and 25 pence, which was pretty good compared to what I thought was a pretty rubbish July. From a positive to negative days, and when we look at the whole month, the only days that we had we paid Octopus for the electricity is that first day and the last day, and a tiny little bit just towards the end of the month. Most days we were in negative territory, which worked out quite nice. So another £43 goes into the pot. So we're in credit of about £214.62 for the year so far. I think we'll have a negative month in September, and then we'll see how October goes. October, November, and December, I think if we can get that credit to about £250, we'll be on track for a £0 bill come the end of the year. Okay, so that's it for numbers. Again, I'll be back on the 7th of October, but what I'm going to do now is switch screens on you guys, and I'm going to scroll back through the chat. So, hey everybody. We'll dip in and out and I'll watch the recording. So everyone's saying hello. Somebody's watching from work. That sounds like my kind of work. Yeah. So Michael's saying about the rain, his allotment needs the rain. So funnily enough, my daughter has just taken on, well, actually she's just taken on 2 allotments. She wanted a small one, and the local allotment had a space, and then literally the lady with the allotment next door to her has just given up. She said she was getting too old and it was getting too hard, so she's just taken that on. So I'm sure her sentiments will agree with you. She's yeah, she wants as much rain as she can for her potatoes at the moment. So Chris is saying this has gone back to where we were talking about, can you put a plug on the end of it? Yeah, actually, so even if you can touch those pins, and with a modern British plug, it is actually almost impossible, because for those outside the UK, you probably don't know what the marvels of a British plug is. It has more safety features built into it than just about any other plug anywhere in the world. But the general design of them are that the earth pin, the single pin at the top, is longer than the 2 pins underneath. And if you look at the 2 pins underneath, the live and the neutral, they have some insulation around them. So as you pull the plug out, if you could get your finger in, then you'd be touching the insulation. As the earth pin comes out, a little trapdoor drops down and cuts off the live and the neutral. So as you can get it far enough out where you can touch the conductive bit of the pin, then the trapdoors have already come down and you've separated from the supply. So there's no way for you to get electrocuted that way. Now the other side is the generator side. So the way inverters work is that they look for a 50 hertz, because again, for people in the States, you have 60 hertz power, we have 50 hertz power. So it looks for a 50 hertz signal. And as soon as that 50 hertz signal goes away, the generator shuts off immediately. And by law, it has to do that. This is to stop energy flowing back down if they've cut the power off to maybe work on the lines or dig a hole in the road, stop power flowing backwards and maybe electrocuting somebody down there. So as soon as that 50 hertz signal goes away, it's off. So in the milliseconds it would take you to pull that plug out, you can touch the pins. Nothing's going to happen. And I've actually done it. A bit of a stupid thing to do, you might say, but I've actually done it with the power stream to prove that that actually works, and I've proved it out with electrical test gear as well. So that's the worry, and the reason is that people used to make these cables up that they would call suicide cables. And what they were was a plug on each end of a piece of cable, and you'd plug it in here. Now what you had is live pins. And if you were to touch those pins, you'd get a 240 volt electric shock. So yes, that's the worry behind it. The reality of the situation is with modern equipment, and again, modern plugs, it is, I won't say impossible, but it is almost impossible that you would actually get a shock from it. The other thing as well is because of the regulations around it, you can imagine if there was a problem with your generating equipment and it was found to be plugged in with a plug, when the electrical regulations specifically say you shouldn't do this, your insurance company might get a little bit weaselly about whether they were going to pay out or not. So not recommended, but it does seem 99% of the people out there, this is the way that they're doing it. And to be honest, this is the way it works in Germany and France and most European countries. If you buy one of these micro inverters, it is just a plug in a wall. So again, it's good enough for them, but apparently not for us. Let's have a look. Yeah, so I've seen this before. A friend of mine actually had an MCS accredited installer come in and basically do an audit of their system to say, was it up to standard? But it's expensive. You know, an MCS accredited installer isn't going to come out for free. Spend a couple of hours checking out your entire system, make sure it's up to standard, and then issuing a certificate. Because if that certificate is issued in their name, they're ultimately responsible for it as well. So it is quite expensive. And again, for these micro systems where you're maybe going to be making a few tens of pounds a year, I'm not sure that it's actually worth the effort. So James is saying, I got a string plow and a plug. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I did it for 2 years. The power stream would still be running on a plug today if I just hadn't have had the electrician here and just said, hey, just for peace of mind, can you stick one in? But I mean, a fuse spur, if you for those again that understand what I'm talking about, a fuse spur is those things you see on a wall that sometimes have a fuse in the thing, and maybe some of them have an on and off switch, but the wire goes directly into it. So there's no plug, it's permanently wired into the wall. Then that should, in theory, then go off to your consumer unit and you'll have a separate breaker for it. So that means that you can isolate that spur, and it's got its own fuse in it. So that's what I have for the Stream Ultra and also on the Power Stream system as well. But really, the wiring is no different to a plug socket and a plug. The only difference is you can't unplug it. You can't pull the cable out. So it gives some extra protection, and it does mean you are compliant with UK wiring regs. So if you can do it, I would recommend it, but it's not the end of the world if you can't. So I'm going to pull these up and I'll read them while they're on the screen here. Ooh, that's interesting. I've never seen that done before. So you're going to wire the microinverter directly into the HVAC system. I didn't know that was possible. But I suppose is the question. Oh, sorry, this is going to bring up lots of questions. Does that mean that your HVAC system isn't connected to your house power supply? Because I'm wondering why go directly into the HVAC. Why not go into the consumer unit and then feed the power directly to the system there? But I have seen in some like camper vans where you can get small, I don't know if you call them HVAC systems, but small coolers that run directly from solar. So again, if you're out, you leave your van during the day, the solar panels on the roof, they just keep the van cool inside. Oh, I see. So sorry, Donald's another, to keep the power from going back to the grid when the HVAC is not running. Yeah. So yeah, you're running it in a sort of almost like an island mode. Wow. It dumped it all in 90 minutes. So this is, I'm assuming you're using the Tesla software now to figure out what your usage is, and it's saying, okay, you've got all this spare capacity, I'm going to send it back to the grid. I like the idea, but that assumes to me that everything is predictable, and yeah, our house is really predictable. We kind of do the same thing every day, but I still don't like the idea of giving up control. It's it sort of goes against my my tendencies. Could you show us on how your Home Assistant set up? Yeah, I haven't really got the ability to bring the PC up on screen now. Again, this will be a rabbit hole for another day, but we can definitely do it. So I have a pretty basic Home Assistant setup. I have a little device called a Home Assistant Green, which is just a little off-the-shelf computer you can buy with Home Assistant pre-installed. Plug it in, ready to go. I think it's about £90, something like that. I have a ton of stuff connected to it. So I mainly use Home Assistant for monitoring. Like I say, I'm not 100% comfortable with it just doing its own thing. So I will use it to tell me that certain conditions have been met, and then I will go in and control certain devices with it. For simple stuff, I do automate it. So a good example would be in our bathrooms. Outside every bathroom, you've got obviously a light switch, and you've got a switch for the fan to take the moist air out and get rid of it. Most people forget to turn on the fan, or they forget to turn off the fan. So we have simple automations. We have a little humidity sensor in the bathroom and a presence sensor. So if you go in the shower and the humidity level in the room rises above 75%, it will turn the fan on automatically. The way it does this is it has a smart switch outside the bathroom. The automation presses or toggles the switch, waits 10 seconds and toggles the switch again. And that means that the fan is now on a 20-minute loop. It'll wait 20 minutes before it switches off. So it's just a simple automation that says, if humidity goes above a certain level, then do this. And you can extend that simple metaphor to controlling your batteries. So for instance, I ran all last summer with an automation that basically said, if we get to 8 p.m. at night and the batteries are above, I think it was 65%, then start discharging the battery until the battery reaches 25%, and then that will give us enough to run through to the end of the day. And then I didn't have to worry about it when I was away traveling for work. I just discharged somewhere in the region of about 10 kilowatts every night. So again, it is simple to do. The automations are obviously very dependent on what devices you have. So the Solar Edge integration that I use is pretty stable. I've heard that some of the others are brilliant. They're even better. So again, depends on the equipment you have, what plugins are available for Home Assistant, but happy to do a run through. There is actually a really good channel if you know a channel called Speak to the Geek. Go check out Ollie's channel. Ollie does a whole load of stuff on Home Assistant in much more in depth than I can, but yeah, certainly happy to do it at some point. Jez, I'm looking at battery storage to help my winter usage, struggling to find a cheap night rate without having an EV. Yeah, so this is becoming a bit of a thing. And I did a video the other day, just sort of my wishes that wish that Octopus would get off their backside and stop differentiating between batteries with wheels and batteries without. Right now, from everything I'm being told, is if you go on Octopus Go, so this is the version that's about 8.5 pence per kilowatt hour, they don't ask you to prove that you've got an EV. Now, my question to them is, if you're not going to police your own rules, why have the rules in the first place? If you're just going to say to people, sign up, tell us you've got an EV, they don't ask for a registration number or anything like that, and they just put you on that tariff, why have the rules in the first place? So I would, if you're looking for a cheap tariff like that, I would look at Octopus Go. If you haven't got an EV, obviously if you've got an EV that's compatible with Intelligent Go, you can get 7p a kilowatt, but 8.5p a kilowatt is about the best you can get it. I have just heard that the new version of Eon Next Drive, they've removed E.ON are a weird company. They make a set of rules and then they change them 5 minutes later. So they dropped the requirement for you to have an EV to be on NextDrive, and lots of people jumped on it because it was a better export rate than Octopus. You got more hours at night, so a lot of people jumped on it. And then a few weeks later, they probably went, "Oh, too many people are signing up," and they then removed the thing that said you can do this with a home battery. So they brought the requirement you must have an EV back to be on it. And they've told the people with home batteries that when they get to the end of their 12 months, they'd be kicking them off that tariff. Great customer service from E.ON there. They really don't know what they're doing. So I would say if you're comfortable with just not telling Octopus the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, then get on to Go. That will be your cheapest tariff. I track the amount of energy I use. Yeah. So, and this is similar to how the automation I used to run last summer. I don't run it this summer because I found out that even with the intelligence of the automation, looking at how much power is in the battery, how much could we export, how much do we need to get us through the rest of the night, the answer was we would export about 10 kilowatts a day. And so now I just set up a simple automation that says, I think it's at 7:30 at night, start exporting till 8:30 at night. And with a 10 kilowatt inverter, we usually export 9.8 kilowatts, something like that. So I don't need any fancy automation to be able to do that. It just does it. But yeah, it is the round trip loss is, yeah, that's something to take into account if you're going to be doing this kind of thing. Yes, have a look. Oh, I see. So you were saying about the Powerwall, they were just dumping it to calibrate the BMS. Was this an automated thing? Did you ask for it to happen, or was it something that they just kicked in and did? Because if SolarEdge reached in and dumped my battery without my permission, then yeah, we'd be having a conversation the next day, and there'd be a firewall in place to make sure they couldn't get access to that battery any longer. I would not be impressed by that. Yeah, so another Home Assistant user. I think my little Home Assistant Green, if I remember rightly, it is a what they call a Pi compute module inside it. So it's probably a Pi 4. Their Pi 5 is out now. It's really, really simple to use. And once you get into Home Assistant, it's one of those things you don't need. You can go as far down that rabbit hole as you are comfortable going. If you want to start to learn to code and write YAML and do all that kind of stuff, you can do that, and it is fully supported. There's a massive community of people out there who will help you to do this. If you just want something simple where you can have lots of sensors, you can have information from devices, and you want to build simple dashboards, you can do that as well. And that's mostly what I use it for. So as a good example, on my dashboard that I have on my phone, so I can't get it up on the screen for you, but I'll try and hold it up to the camera there. There's too much bright light coming off the screen there. But I have dashboards with tons and tons and tons of stats and data and battery levels and all sorts of stuff in it. But my wife wants a really simple dashboard, so I have a really simple dashboard for her that is, is the water in the tank hot enough to have a shower? Can I put devices on? So again, I've just created really simple dashboards that in the next couple of weeks I'm actually be putting little smart screens around the house, and I will do a video on those. But so Shelly, the company that makes a lot of the sensors, have got these little cool screens that they started off with the one I've got, which I haven't got around to plugging in yet, which is the size of a single light switch socket. So it has a connection in the back for power. It can have a relay to turn your light on and off, but then it gives you a little screen which you can put Home Assistant dashboard on. So again, you can just have a button on it that says light on, light off. You can have little gauges that show your batteries. You can do. They were just at I think it's IFA, the show that's just been on in Germany. They've just announced a monster one. So there's like a 10-inch tablet. Again, all plugs into one light socket recess, but you can have a 10-inch tablet on your wall, all your Home Assistant dashboards on it. It is a rabbit hole that is quite good fun to go down, and yeah, if you're into doing a bit of tinkering, then I can highly recommend Home Assistant. So, oh, now there's a whole new rabbit hole. Yeah, if you're using Home Assistant, so YAML is the sort of the coding language or the scripting language behind making Home Assistant do some really cool stuff. Now you can get pre-made buttons that do things, but the real power behind it is you want to create a button that does exactly what you want it to do. So when I press this button, I want these 3 lights to turn on, I want the battery to start export, and I want this, that, the other. You can do all of that in YAML. And you, even if you're not a programmer, you can go into ChatGPT or into Google Gemini or anything like that and describe the script that you want it to write and tell it you want a YAML script to do it. And then it'll give you the code, you paste it in a Home Assistant, you run it, and it probably won't work first time, but it'll give you an error. You paste the error back into the thing and say, why doesn't this work? And it'll say, oh, here's the new code. And you just go back and forth and all of a sudden it works. So yeah, it's really good. And not just YAML. If you're not a programmer and you've ever thought, I really like an app that does X, try having AI write it for you. You might be surprised. You can do some amazing stuff with it. Sorry, what's your thoughts on V2G? Yeah, so I have quite a lot of thoughts on this. So let's define some terms. So V2H, vehicle to home, V2G, vehicle to grid, and there's another one that's known as V2L, vehicle to load. Now let's put vehicle to load to one side. So vehicle to load is certain models of cars. I think all the Hyundais, the Kias, basically all the ones that are all built on the same battery platform. They come with a little adapter that you plug into the charging port of your car, and it has, you know, a standard Type 2 connection on that side, and then it has a little flap you lift up, and there's a standard UK 13 amp plug socket on the other side, and then you can run, I don't know the exact limits, it's probably dependent on the car, but you can run devices off of your car battery. So if you were, you know, there was a power cut, you can plug directly into the car, run an extension lead, run your fridge and freezer off of it. Vehicle to load. So it doesn't connect to your house in any way, shape or form. It is a completely standalone connection to the battery. Excuse me, connection to the battery. So again, that's generally car specific. Then you've got 2 terms which I think are used by a lot of people interchangeably, but vehicle to grid generally is used when you have a system, basically a bidirectional charger on your house, and your energy company controls it. So that means that they can control when your car is charged and when they discharge energy from your car battery and then return it to the grid. So that's, if any of you saw the Octopus event that happened earlier this summer, where they announced a deal with BYD, as part of the package of, I think it was £299 a month, you got a brand new BYD Dolphin, and you got a bidirectional charger, and it was V2G. So that means that Octopus are in control of when you charge your car, when they charge your car up, and you say, hey, as long as I've got this much energy in the battery by 9 o'clock in the morning, have at it, do what you need to do. And that allows them to then make money by charging and discharging your car, and that generally covers free charging for you. Vehicle to home is when you're basically in control. So instead of Octopus saying, or Eon saying, hey, we need 10 kilowatts out of your car battery and sending it back to the grid, it's my house needs 10 kilowatts right now, and I want to be able to pull that from the car battery and then use that power in my house. The energy companies obviously prefer V2G. The homeowners probably prefer V2H. And there is some crossover between them, because obviously if there is power flowing out of your car battery and it's being exported and you turn on an appliance in your house, then your house is going to use that load before it goes back to the grid. So they kind of are interchangeable, but that's generally the way that I kind of separate them in my head. The problem comes with who is responsible if something goes wrong. So when it's a package, like the Octopus deal, where you get the car, the charger, and all of the software to run this comes from your energy company. If anything goes wrong, you got one phone call, hey Octopus, come fix my stuff. When you've bought a car from one vendor, a charger from another vendor, you've maybe got a home battery from another vendor, you've got an inverter, all different bits from all different companies, and something doesn't work. Generally what happens is a lot of the vendors go, it was them, not us, not our problem, it's that thing. And I think that's why a lot of companies are being very cautious about this. I would love for nothing more than Tesla to turn on vehicle to home. Apparently the cars have been able to do this for, since the Model Y came out in, 2020. But the software's not there. And you can imagine it from Tesla's point of view. They probably don't want people putting lots of extra cycles on the battery when there's no benefit to Tesla for it. So I think it will come, but I think it will come in packages. So if all the rumors are true that, Tesla Energy want to become an energy supplier in the UK, and you've got a Powerwall 3 and you've got a Tesla charger on the side of your house, I can quite easily see Tesla turning it on. Obviously Octopus are doing it with BYD. Hopefully more vendors will get on with that. There is a rumor that they have been talking to VW about the ID range being compatible with this bidirectional charger that they've got. So there's still a lot of yes, it's coming, but when's it coming? What form's it coming in? So yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, personally, if I could buy a system tomorrow that would work, for those of you that know, so we're a twin electric car house. I have a Model Y. My wife has a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf, one of I would say the second generation. So the old style looking Leaf, but with the second generation battery. It has lost 1 bar of its performance over 10 years. She drives that car every single day of the week. She charges it to 100% every single night. She's done everything that they say you shouldn't do with, especially with what they call a non-managed pack. The pack doesn't warm itself up to accept a charge or anything like that. It just gets cold. It charges the best it can. It's an old system, but it works perfectly. That car is effectively worthless. It's a 10-year-old Leaf. The scrap value on it is probably less than £1,000. If I could find a V2G system that would work with it, and I know Nissan have some because Robin, I don't know if Robin's on today, but Robin has one from the trial that they did. If I could get hold of one of those, I would literally plug it on my house. I would go out and buy a Nissan Leaf that's just failed its MOT. I would literally put it on bricks on my driveway and plug it in. And then you've got a 24 kilowatt battery, or whatever's left of your 24 kilowatt battery, for £1,000. And I think this will give a lot of extra life to old EVs. Is they can literally just sit on your drive until the battery dies. You don't need to worry about driving it as a car. You can sawn it. You don't need to insure it. It can just sit there and become a house battery. Maybe we'll start to see people do that. I don't know. But so yeah, you asked for my thoughts on V2G, V2H. Oops, what did I just do there? That was a very silly thing. Let's turn that one off. Okay. So Chris is saying, I have a V2H system using a quad. Oh, okay. I didn't know Audi did that. A V2L car, still waiting. Okay, now I want to know more about this, Chris. Drop me an email or send me a message or something, because I do want to know more about this. To be honest, I've only ever been in one Audi EV, and it was lovely, but I don't know many people that have got one. Oh, okay, but still want to know more. So that's it. It looks like we're getting to the... oh, hang on. I hope so as well, Al. I mean, it's... I'll be totally honest. It's a little humbling to be able to help somebody out, and really, it's you guys. It's money that we've earned from you guys watching videos that has made a difference in people's lives, and it's just made me want to do more. I got to say, I'm a big softie at heart, and there were a few tears shed that day. Yeah, we're going to start seeing housing estates with all these cars on bricks on people's drives, and people will go around and say, "What's happened to this estate? It used to be such a lovely place, and now it's all it's all gone to pot." But I don't know if any of you follow the channel, the Battery Man. So he built a battery system for his house with 2 Tesla batteries. And then he bought an old Nissan Leaf that didn't have a battery in it and put a new battery in it. Maybe we need to get hold of him and get him to come and take a look at it. Rob, I missed your question. Did I? My Daikin Shelley question. Where was that? I didn't see that one, Rob. So. You skipped my Daikin Shelley question. Do you want to post your question again, and I'll do my best to answer it. So for those that don't know, so I've got a Daikin heat pump, and literally the first thing I did was install a Shelley EM50 into the consumer unit that's right next to the heat pump, and that allows me to monitor using the Shelley app and using Home Assistant exactly how much. Put that over there. How much energy it's using. Now, the reason I do this is the Daikin app has a dreadful mathematical problem of rounding up numbers wrong. So if you go into the stats in the app, you will only ever find whole kilowatt numbers. And it doesn't, the simple rule, if it's 0.5, below 0.5, round down, above 0.5, round up. Doesn't do any of that, it doesn't seem. It doesn't round up at all. So if your usage is 1.8, it records it as 1. If it's 1.99, it records it as 1. And what I see is when I look at the Daikin app and I look at what the Shelley is recording, the Shelley has a CT clamp around the wires that lead to both the heat pump itself and the booster circuit. So I have 2 separate circuits monitored, and I've seen as much as a 25% delta between the 2. So obviously I have monitoring all the way through my system, so I can see exactly where the energy is flowing. So I know that the Shelley is accurate, and I know the Daikin is horribly inaccurate. So I use the data from the Shelley whenever I do that. Yeah, that's the reason. So Rob's just asking, what's the difference between the 2 reports? That's the reason for the difference, is the rounding up. If you look in the Daikin app, you'll never see a point number after anything. It's just whole numbers throughout. And when you compound that throughout a whole month, so let's say you were using 1.99 kilowatts every single day of the month, and it was recording 1. So it would say you used 30 kilowatts this month, and then you'd look at your Shelley device and it would say you've used 60 kilowatts this month because of the rounding error. So that's the reason for the difference. Let me go back to, there's a couple more questions here. So no, it did on the very first day we had it. So the Octopus guys, so the Daikin has a thing called the MMU, which is the in-house control panel. I literally look at it once a month because I do everything else through the app or through Home Assistant. But the way it gets on Wi-Fi is there's it looks like a little SD card that you stick in the side of it. The problem with it is, and this is down to stupid design by Daikin, is the people who built the enclosure. If you take the front off, I don't recommend you do this because you break your warranty. If you take the front off your MMU, what you'll find is there is an RF shield that runs all the way around the inside of that unit so that it doesn't leak any RF signals out. And when you plug that card in, about 50% of the card is inside the RF shield. So its Wi-Fi signal sticking out the side is really poor, just dreadfully poor. The way I I solved it was we have a mesh network, a mesh Wi-Fi network in our house. Was the closest Wi-Fi access point was actually in my attic, and I just literally moved it. So the distance between that card and the Wi-Fi access point is about 40 centimeters. So it's literally directly above it in the roof above my attic. And then I suddenly got a really consistent signal, but it's just down to a really, really stupid design on behalf of the Daikin guys. And again, I had a conversation with Octopus about it, and they were like, we know, we get this all the time. They send out the other cards, but again, because of the size of the card and the way the slot goes in, it's shielded once it gets inside the unit. They're just dumb design. Oh, so Chris is saying Victron Quattro. Sorry, I was thinking Audi Quattro. Yeah, Rob's saying he sees the difference. Again, it's worth it just at the end of the month. Just get the two figures. And again, if you're calculating your coefficient of performance from the Daikin, the one problem we've got, and again, this is where my trust with them just doesn't live up to it. The Daikin app will tell you how much electricity it used, how much did it use for heating, how much did it use for hot water. Then it'll tell you how much heat energy it created. And I can't tell because there's no other way without putting some external sensors into the heat pump itself. I can't tell if they're rounding up those numbers as well. So I'm not 100% confident in the numbers that I get from Daikin. Once I get to the end of year one, which will be in November, my plan is to put one of these open heat monitors that go directly inside the unit. I just don't want to do that until when the guy comes to do its 1 year service and he's got the panel off. I'll be in there to plug it in, and that way they won't say, "Hey, you've opened the system," and try and not fulfill my warranty. Dylan's asking, do you have island mode? Yes, I do. So I have a SolarEdge backup. It's called a backup interface. It is, again, a stunning piece of stupid design. So the way it works is really simple. It is a contact switch. So it's a big mechanical switch in a box that when it's connected to the grid, you move that switch, you'll hear it go clunk, and it's physically moving the switch over. So there is a physical separation between the grid and the house, and then that allows the batteries to flow into the house, but obviously can't flow out into the grid. So it is an extra device that you need to have, and it needs to be wired in by an electrician. The reason I say it's a really stupid design is the system is designed so that if the grid goes down, it will send you a text message, except it never does. You get the text message when the grid comes back on saying the grid is down. Like, no shit, genius, you know. The reason is when the system goes down, the Wi-Fi can't connect because the power's out. So I was talking to one of the Virgin engineers about this the other day. I actually have my home Wi-Fi on a UPS, thinking at least if the power goes out, we can still be on the internet. But the exchange down in our village where it all connects to isn't on a UPS. So if there's a village-wide power cut, it doesn't matter that I'm on a UPS. So this thing can't send a message. Their answer was, well, why don't you put a 4G SIM in it? Well, why don't you design it so that it can still send a message on the local network rather than have to go all the way out to the cloud and then come all the way back to be able to send me a text message? I'm not paying for a 4G SIM for that. So yeah, it does run in island mode. The only other thing you need other than this box, and obviously a compatible inverter on the SolarEdge side, is you need an earth pin installed on your property, because once you disconnect from the grid, you're also cutting off your earth as well. So the house is no longer earth, so it needs another route to earth put in, but relatively simple to get installed. I think every manufacturer now has an ability to do this, usually as an add-on, but but they're usually a bit more money. Rob's asking, have you considered ESP Alpha? But that was the thing I was talking about earlier that I'm gonna get installed when they come to do the system. Andy says, you're a fountain of knowledge. Thank you. As my wife says, I'm a fountain of useless information. I'm trying to get end phase island system, but they don't. So yeah, this, from what I understand with end phase, so I have a buddy in the States who had a solar edge system, moved to a different state in the US, and then decided he didn't want solar edge anymore and got end phase installed. So he's been telling me all about his end phase system over the last few months. He has literally just got the gateway installed. And he's had the system for a year. I think it's pretty new, so it might not be certified for installation in the UK yet, but it is available, because he was, doing what we all do, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, playing with it. All right, everyone, I'm afraid I'm going to have to call it there. It is 7:30, so I'm going to have to head off and go and get some dinner with my wife. So I just want to say thanks everybody for joining. I'm amazed that any of you showed up, given there's an Apple event on and lots of new iPhones and things being announced. So I do appreciate you spending the last hour with me. New video coming this Friday on me getting rid of my gas meter. So if you want to know what was involved in that and how long it took and what little hair I've got left got pulled out, then video coming with that on Friday. And I'll be back next month, and hopefully with some more good news about people we've all helped. So thanks everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.